Hari
Hari Om
Om.
Utsav
Hari Om.
from garden.
Hari Om, sir. Hari Om.
Bright sun today.
Hari Om.
Okay. This boy, come here. Say hi to her. Don't keep sleeping. Good morning. Good morning.
So sweet. New.
New, no, very old.
Oh, very old. इसको नहीं देखा, दूसरे वाले को देखा हुआ.
ये छिप जाता है, ये छुपा है.
सुंदर.
Sushi.
Hello.
क्या प्यार.
Hi.
Yeah.
Wow, so.
Good morning.
ये भी हरि ओम बोल रहे हैं.
ये तो नमस्ते करते हैं सब उसका. जाओ. एक सेकंड को मैं छोड़ देता हूँ बाहर. They finally woken up. चल बाजू. जा. जा. Okay. Let's start. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Are there any questions?
But sir, I had this question since the last task when we were discussing uh, the impediments and the obstacles to the spiritual progress. And I was wondering, the rituals that we have in our lives, with which which we follow as religion, uh, and there are lots of rituals which people do, which don't really, which are not really understood maybe in depth, and we're just doing it mechanically because we've been told to. So as youngsters, as people who are going to like right now, we are following whatever our parents tell us to do, and it's okay if we are doing something or the other, and it's like, but when you don't know what these mean exactly, and when you study texts like these, and you carve out a different spiritual path for yourself, then what kind of a place should those rituals hold in our lives, and how do we carry them out, or with meaning?
Yeah. So, Vedanta considers 4 means of gaining knowledge. First is through your direct experience. Second is through an understanding and explanation through analogy. Upma. Well, actually, that's the third one. The second one is inference, anuman. Through the application, even though you may not have a direct experience of something, through the application of your intellectual capabilities, your intellect's capabilities, you can infer certain pieces of information. That's a valuable source of gaining an understanding. The third is, of course, upma, which is comparison, analogy, metaphors. And the fourth is agami, which is tradition. Now, the host of rituals, cultural practices fall into the realm of agami. And in fact, anything you're told, uh, if it comes through a lineage, if it comes through uh, a time-tested practice, right? Uh, because if following your predecessors was the only yardstick of, say, a ritual, then it wouldn't last beyond a few generations. Right? I mean, how many times can people, you have to have a deeper inspiration for anything in life. Otherwise, it won't last. Imitation and replication only has. So, uh, the fourth one, which we are focusing on, the fourth means of gaining knowledge, is through agami, through a certain, I won't say a blind adherence to, but a curiosity about. Okay, like last class, towards the end of last class, we were talking about astrology, right? Someone mentioned about, I think you only asked about astrology. That can also be seen as a part of agami, right? Now, that doesn't mean that whatever falls into agami we blindly follow, right? You, as a Vedantin, you ought to have a spirit of curiosity, not a spirit of judgment. Nobody's asking you to make conclusions. In fact, to each their own. Tomorrow you may study about a certain ritual or a certain practice and gain more knowledge than anybody who's been, say, practicing Vedanta for 20 years. As a Vedantin, you ought to be curious to learn from someone else's experience, right? That's the spirit of Agami. That curiosity to consider the power of tradition, the weight of tradition, a time-tested practice which for generations your predecessors have followed. And just as rejecting it is wrong, similarly blindly following it is also wrong, because you're doing disservice to your predecessors. You're doing disservice to your culture if you're blindly following something without understanding perhaps the inspiration, the uh, the uh, the depth behind it, right? And see, there are enough people with knowledge about the the meaning behind things. There's no paucity of teachers. Let me tell you that. There's a paucity of demand to know. The moment you develop that curiosity, that willingness, that eagerness to know, the moment you look for answers, especially in today's Google era, you'll find answers. That doesn't mean that every answer you find you swallow and accept. That spirit of prashnena should also be there to clarify. It should sit with some kind. See, because these practices are followed, and generally there's a symbolism associated with it. It may not be a causation. It's not that, you're putting water on a deity, on a stone deity, and something magical will happen. There's no causation out there. It's largely symbolic. You're putting that thought association on that piece of stone, and from that thought association comes the. But who's to say thoughts don't have power? Who's to say this association doesn't have power, right? So as you rediscover your spiritual journey, it's important to maintain a spirit of curiosity, because um, this tradition in particular, and many other traditions, have a wealth of knowledge to offer, wealth of perspective to offer, wealth of depth to offer, right? So I'm not saying accept and adopt everything. And then 365 days. Again, I think I'm stopping. My videos are pausing. Am I audible?
The voice is cracking.
It's
You're
okay.
fine.
Every day at 8:10 a.m. this voice.
Yeah, it's cracking. Yeah.
And Chachi, there are books like स्वामी जी का ही बुक है सिंबोलिज्म ऑफ हिंदू गॉड्स एंड रिचुअल्स, चिन्मय मिशन में भी ऐसा एक बुक है. If we are curious enough, we read, we just want to negate whatever we are told to.
Cannot hear.
We just have a habit.
Cannot hear.
You're breaking up a little.
Yeah.
Even I am breaking.
Yeah.
Little bit.
spoke
I got the gist of
No, he spoke on symbolism. What he said about symbolism.
One thing that there are books on symbolism and rituals by Swami Ji in Chinmay Mission, many ways. So if we are curious enough, we can get those books. Like I only got a book and I wanted to make my son read it. So चीज क्यों करना चाहिए? There are all reasons. It is up to us how much we want to know.
yeah.
Generally speaking, जिसमें कोई बहुत necessary फायदा नहीं होता है ना, उसमें अपने बहुत क्यूरियस नहीं होते हैं. एक्चुअली क्यूरियस नहीं होते हैं अपने.
आवाज
आपने
नहीं आ
बोल
रही
देते हो.
यशो,
Oh
आवाज
my
is
God.
breaking up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something wrong.
Am I audible now? Am I visible now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You.
Okay.
Yes.
I think every day this around 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., the internet decides to be unstable. I don't know क्या दुश्मनी है. Anyway, so as Yashu ji was also saying that there are resources if you want to know, if you want to learn about a lot of symbolism, a lot of and see we also, for example, in our house we have a Panditji who comes, right, and you'll notice beyond the point that their knowledge, I won't say it's half baked, but they also have been given a certain perspective, and it's a very worthy perspective, it's a very valuable perspective, but you learn about prior to the digital age, or even prior to the age of industry and technology, this was the only means for a tradition to be passed down through a lineage of people, who swear to maintain the authenticity of knowledge rather than give their own perspective. See, today if I share something with you, you will understand something, you will interpret it in a certain way, you will express it in altogether a different way. Then you share to a third person, they share to a fourth person. By the time it reaches the fifth person, what I have said and what they have understood, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. People have added their perspective, but you can't attribute that fifth version to me because it has been mixed up with various insightful. If I want to authentically share what I am saying through generations, there has to develop a tradition of literally fine. I've said verbatim, take my words and simply express it. But that codified, that verbatim piece of information has to be decoded, right? So that decoding requires effort. That these things come in the form of these sort of verbatim pieces of information, which you have to translate, which you have to interpret in today's day and age. Because the principles are eternal, the applications are subjective, right?
Yeah.
You have to adapt it to.
What I see is like a lot of things are done out of fear, in the sense that you must do these things because otherwise so and so will, like, it's not, like it'll harm your family or it'll harm your home
So
or
from today,
things like-
Prachi, you stop doing any of those things which you think you are doing only for fear. Trust
Yeah,
me,
I
you will become a more religious person.
yeah.
But then the idea is we need to find out the meanings of it. The problem is what we do, we just leave doing the rituals. कुछ होता नहीं है. So there,
Yeah.
that is also a very big mistake which the new generation is doing. We don't try to understand कि आरती क्यों करते हैं या कपूर क्यों जलाते हैं. They, for each and everything there is a meaning.
Yeah.
Our religion is very scientific. We are seeing all this. Only problem is we have lost the science.
Am
No,
I
I
here?
don't. So I don't think so because हम लोग क्वेश्चन ही नहीं करते, हम पूछते ही नहीं हैं, बिकॉज वी डोंट आस्क द प्रॉपर पर्सन द रिचुअल का उनका सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है. कि वी समटाइम फील सो शाई, वी आर सो अफ्रेड कि अभी हम जो पूछेंगे कहीं बेवकूफ़ी का सवाल तो नहीं होगा. हमको डर लगा रहता है इस बात का ही कि शायद लोग क्या समझेंगे कि इसको इतना भी नहीं आता. ऐसा बात नहीं है. हर चीज जैसे क्यूरोसिटी तो होनी ही चाहिए. जैसे लास्ट टाइम जो लेक्चर हुआ था, देखिए मैं तो जो लास्ट टाइम हुआ था उसके ऊपर मैं कुछ बोलना चाहता हूँ अगर आप मेरे को इजाज़त दें तो.
हाँ जी, हाँ
जैसे
जी.
इन्होंने एग्जांपल दी थी स्वामी जी ने पोल वॉल्ट की, तो मैंने बोला कि बुद्धा ने बोला था बोट के बारे में. लेकिन जब मैंने सोचा कि भाई हमको खुद भी सोचना चाहिए कि कौन कौन सी सिचुएशन में वही सिचुएशन आती है. जैसे मैं एक दिया जला रहा था, तो जब माचिस को जलाता हूँ, दिए को जलाता हूँ, तो माचिस की जो तीली होती है उसको मैं फेंक देता हूँ. क्यों? कि दिया जल गया. हमारे को नॉलेज हो गई, तब वो दिया सलाई की अब जरूरत नहीं है. तो सिमिली मेरे अपने हिसाब से वो सिमिली वही है. लेकिन हमको हर बात को अपनी समझ के हिसाब से समझना चाहिए, ताकि हमको विश्वास हो जाए कि भाई ये मेरे लिए ठीक है. हम अपनी बुद्धि के हिसाब से सोचेंगे. और भी कई एग्जांपल्स हैं, जैसे रिचुअल की बात इन्होंने की है. जैसे मंदिर में जाते हैं, साउथ इंडिया में मैं देखता हूँ कि मंदिरों में पूरा डार्कनेस होती है. नॉर्थ इंडियन में डार्क नहीं होता. अब डार्क में जब वो बत्ती जलाते हैं, अब मोस्टली तो मुश्कपुर जलाते हैं. तो जब जलाते हैं तो देन यू कैन सी द लॉर्ड. व्हेन यू सी द लॉर्ड, उसके बाद वो मुश्कपुर भी खत्म हो जाता है. तो व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ दैट? सिग्निफिकेंस यही है कि जो भगवान की हम शक्ल देखते हैं, हमको उसके बाद अंतर ध्यान होना पड़ेगा कि भाई ये का इसकी सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है, उनकी सिंबॉलिज्म क्या है. अभी आपने सिंबॉलिज्म का वर्ड यूज किया, तो हर मूर्ति के पीछे एक बहुत बड़ा सिंबॉलिज्म है. गणेश की मूर्ति तो अभी कल विसर्जन हुआ है, पूरा सिंबॉलिज्म से ही भरा हुआ है. टोटल सिंबॉलिज्म, हर उसका अंग, चूहे से लेके उसके पाँव से लेके उसके दांत से लेके हर चीज का सिंबॉलिज्म ही सिंबॉलिज्म है. तो हमको, अगर हमको नहीं पता हो, तो हम गुरुओं के पास आते हैं कि पूछते हैं कि बताइए जी इसका मतलब क्या है. जब वो बात को फिर हमको खुद को भी उसको अपने आप को समझाना पड़ेगा. ये जो बोल रहे हैं, हम अपने एक्सपीरियंस के हिसाब से उसको ट्राई करते हैं, देखते हैं हाँ बात तो ठीक ही बोल रहे थे, देन वी रजिस्टर इट फॉर आवर सेल्फ. मेरा तो अपनी यही ओपिनियन है. दूसरी बात, आपने वो मिल्टन की बात की थी, वो तो अंग्रेज था. हमारे इंडिया में सूरदास जी भी थे. उन्होंने भी देखिए बिना आंखों के कितना कुछ बहुत कुछ बोल के चले गए वो भगवान के बारे में. तो हमको भी अपना सोचना चाहिए कि भाई हम जो सुनते हैं उसके ऊपर भी हमको अध्ययन करना चाहिए. कि सॉरी मैं बहुत ज़्यादा बोल लिया हूँ, तो माफ़ी चाहता हूँ अगर मैं किसी को डिस्टर्ब किया हो. तो मेरा अपना विचार ऐसा ही है.
हाँ जी सर, आपने exactly what you said, that we have to think for ourselves, and it's a great exercise. It's a beautiful exercise to come up with your own examples, to come up with your own analogy. जब आप अपने examples के साथ you know when you try to come up with your own examples, it's a sign of your own understanding. And that requires effort, that requires translation, that requires interpretation. So whenever there is a concept, um, generally you will see this happen in class also. There'll be a concept, we'll try to explain, Swamiji will give an example, I'll try to perhaps give my own example, but you shouldn't stop at that. You should try to come up with your own scenarios and interpretations, right? They may be perfect, they may not be perfect. And an upama, a comparison, may be perfect, it may not be perfect, that's okay. But it's a great exercise in building that understanding, in developing, in furthering your own curiosity. See, in fact, आप गणपति विसर्जन की बात कर रहे हो, ये गणपति फेस्टिवल आया क्या, कहाँ से? 500 साल पहले होता नहीं था ये.
हाँ,
पहले 300 साल पहले होता नहीं था.
हाँ, that is to collect all the Hindus together.
It was started during the freedom struggle movement
Yeah, freedom
as a
struggle.
social mobilization.
Yeah.
That doesn't take away from the ritual. Please don't get me wrong. Don't think I'm thinking that, oh, there is something less divine in it. The idea of going to a temple also was a social mobilization. Adi Shankaracharya के समय शुरू हुआ है. Creation of temples and going to temples. उसके पहले temples का ज़्यादा कुछ, it was more a personal practice than a social practice. So from time to time, and this is the role of gyanis. This is the role of people, wise people. They understand the need for a ritual because a ritual speaks to your emotion. A ritual speaks to your sense of belonging, to your sense of connection, right? So a gyani will actually come in and place a ritual. He'll say, आपको ये करना चाहिए, आपको हर सुबह उठ के इनका पाठ करना चाहिए. Not that पाठ करके कुछ चमत्कार होगा. Why? That ritual is relevant for you. So there are rituals relevant for individuals people. There are rituals relevant for collective people. Like Ganpati is a collective ritual, right? Aarti is a collective ritual. So there are rituals relevant for, at different times, new rituals come up. Old rituals may fade away, new rituals will come up. So idea is that a ritual should help preserve the knowledge. A ritual should help promote that knowledge. But that knowledge has to be interpreted, that knowledge has to be understood, that knowledge has to be extracted, right? The symbolism has to be understood. And that is your effort as a sadhak. That sense of curiosity, that wanting to know, that spirit of questioning to understand what is the meaning behind these things or what is the inspiration behind these things, and not taking anything for granted. And see, on the one hand, I'm not asking you to be a rebel. Please don't reject things. Even if you don't understand, at least it's fun, no? What's the worst thing? Rituals hoga, even if you don't understand, you're getting to eat puri sabji, yaar. Prasad mein. Why are you rejecting it? So don't reject it, but at the same time, don't. You're doing disservice if you simply blindly following without questioning, right? So because आपके मन में एक ख्याल आया, you should further that. You try to understand, and there's no shortage of teachers. There's so many books, people, everyone. In fact, you'll get more knowledge than you want. You'll be content with the amount of perspective people will give you, and then you have to sift that as well. You'll have to clarify that as well.
उत्सव जी, मैं आपको एक और बताना चाहता हूँ. अभी प्राची जी ने बोला है कि डर के मारे में हम लोग पूजा करते हैं. मेरे घर में एक मेड है जो मुस्लिम है, और मेरे पास कुरान भी है, और वो थोड़ा बहुत वो पढ़ लेती है. मैं उसके साथ पढ़ा हूँ, 5-6 पेज पढ़ा हूँ. तो उसमें शुरुआत में ही इतना डर पैदा किया हुआ है कि ये नहीं करोगे तो वहाँ जन्नम में जाओगे, ये नहीं करोगे तो वहाँ जाओगे. तो इतना कुछ भरा हुआ है शुरुआत में ही. तो मैं तो कहता हूँ कि हमारे जो रिलीजन है वो ऐसा तो कुछ भी नहीं है कि भाई हमको तो फियरलेस बनाया है भगवान सब
नहीं, ऐसा
भगवान
है.
ने.
देखिए, अब ये ना, आप don't bring it into religions because then it becomes unnecessarily complicated.
ओके, सॉरी.
इनका,
और
as a
एक
basic, your responsibility to learn from everything.
ओके, मैं लास्ट टाइम एक क्वेश्चन मैं पूछना चाहता था कि देखिए, आपने एस्ट्रोलॉजी की बात की थी. भगवान ने चैप्टर 3 में श्लोक 22 में बोला था कि त्रिषु तो लोकेशु, मतलब कि उन्होंने बोला कि मैं तीनों लोकों में तीनों, ये 3 लोग क्या हैं जो मैं मुझे समझ में नहीं आया. आपने अगर बोलो तो मैं आपको श्लोक पढ़ के सुनाता हूँ. उन्होंने कहा कि मैं तीनों लोकों से गुजर चुका हूँ मैं, और मुझे किसी चीज की इच्छा नहीं है. तो ये 3 लोग कौन से लोग हैं? मुझे ये क्या एस्ट्रोलॉजिकल एक्सप्लेनेशन था या क्या था वो चैप्टर?
That's not necessarily related to astrology. Now, teen lok, there are different interpretations to it, right? uh, uh, in some level people interpret it as the lower world, the material world, and the heavenly world, patal lok, bhulok, swarg lok. In some interpretations people interpret it as the waking world, the dream world, the deep sleep world, the three realms of consciousness. There are three different and distinct worlds, right? Idea means the three worlds collectively cover the entire realm of experience, the entire realm of human experience, whether it is in a totally sunk state, whether it is in a normal state, whether it's in a totally ecstatic state, hell, world, heaven, or whether it's in a state of sleep, dream, waking. That entire that entire realm of experience is covered by this concept of three worlds, right? Uh, in that
Okay.
particular world, in that particular verse, in fact, at that point, he's trying to inspire Arjuna. He's trying to inspire Arjuna to act. Um, Funnily, it's related to what Prachi just asked about fear, because the point is that knowledge is given in different forms, right? फर्स्ट नॉलेज को बताया जाता है, फिर उसे समझाया जाता है, राइट? अगर नहीं समझो तो थोड़ा और एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया जाता है, फिर यू विल रियलाइज एज अ टीचर दैट अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज लिमिटेड, यू हैव टू यूज सम इमोशनल अपील, तो फिर बहलाया जाता है. लुक,
उत्सव, एक बात बोलने का मन हो रहा है कि जो सारी चीजें जो आपने बताए रिचुअल्स, मैं वो सब की तरह लेती हूँ घर में,
लेट
कुछ
मी
सेलिब्रेशन के भाव में उसको करती हूँ.
सॉरी, आई डोंट थिंक यू कैन हियर मी. कैन यू हियर मी?
Yes.
Okay. Don't break my chain of thought. um, okay, so you were talking about the stages of knowledge. So first, knowledge is given, then it is explained, then there is an element of emotion that is brought in. तो आपको बहलाया जाता है. You're given some kind of a emotional appeal, and one of the emotional appeals, in fact, in this verse that Omji is quoting, Krishna is appealing to Arjuna. He's saying, "Look at me. All the three worlds, there is nothing to be done by me. Yet I am engaging in action." तो आप मेरा एग्जाम्पल लो, आप मेरे जैसे बनो. That's an emotional appeal.
हाँ.
चलो चलो.
जब इमोशनल अपील काम नहीं करता, फिर डराया जाता है. अच्छा, अच्छे कर्म करो. So people become, people who are inspirational to you, they set the example and follow my example. हाँ, अच्छे कर्म करो. But we don't even follow the example. डराया जाता है. अच्छा, ये नहीं करोगे तो ऐसा होगा, ये करोगे तो इसके ऐसे परिणाम होंगे. सो फियर कम्स एट अ सर्टेन लेवल, एंड नॉट ओनली इन अदर कल्चर्स, हमारे कल्चर में भी इसका उपयोग हुआ है in various scriptures, in various texts. Fear has been used as a means of conveying knowledge. But as an individual, you have to realize that you have to rise from the level of fear and maybe even emotional inspiration to knowledge and understanding. Right? You have to understand that explanation through fear is not relevant for me anymore. It may be relevant for a large group of people, but I want to be a seeker. I want to be a learner. I want to understand. So that's the standard you have to set for yourself. Right? So it's not to say right or wrong. Fear has its role to play. Fear is relevant for certain people, a certain class of people at certain times. जब आप बहुत गलत कर रहे हो और आप चीज़ें आपकी समझ के बाहर हैं, वहाँ fear काम करता है. Right? But beyond the point, if you want to grow on the spiritual path, fear is not the only thing that should motivate you. Right? It should turn from fear to inspiration, to conviction, to clarification, to understanding. All these things should hold more weightage. So set it upon yourself. One standard is, if something doesn't fit to my sense of reasoning, sense of understanding, I will not blindly accept it. That's a great standard to hold. Neither am I rejecting things, but neither am I blindly accepting things. That's a good standard. You'll rise above the level of fear. Anji, Munmuji, you have a question or you want to say something?
Sir, from today the Pitri Paksh is starting, so can you put some light on that?
So now today, starting next couple of weeks, is that period, and everybody's told, oh, don't get into a contract during this period, don't give your house on rent during this period, all sorts of other things. I don't want to comment on that. That's not, it's beyond my understanding. As I said, I won't operate on fear, right? But the role of ancestors has been you know, really, and not only in Vedantic culture, in other cultures also. In Mexico, for example, there's a day called Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, means the day of those who have passed. But first and foremost, the idea of Pitra is that you are a result of your Pitras. What you are, what you enjoy, what you have achieved, the state you are in, is the sum total of the contributions of the Pitras, right? And they are very much still connected to you. See, you have a child today. How much of thought, even before the child was conceived, how much of your thought was invested on that child? The child will not realize it. But the child thinks I have an independent life. But even before that child was conceived, you were thinking about that child. You were concerned about that child. You were planning for that child, right? So the life you are living right now, a lot of thought, planning, concern, care has gone into it. See, the seeds which are sprouting right now in your life, they were planted by a Pitras. Right? So a sense of, not to say that they were perfect and they were, all right. Please, we are not putting a value judgment out here, but acknowledging the contribution and also acknowledging the unbroken thread that there is still remains a connection. They were invested in my life, which I am living today, right? So to pay homage to that, to have a sense of connection to that. So I really wish, on a personal level, I really wish I knew more about the various rituals that are followed in this during this month. Case in point to Prachi, I think this is some study and investigation I need to do myself. So whatever I've been telling you over the past 20 minutes. So I wish I knew more, but this is broadly the symbolism of the Pitru Paksha. This particular month is to have a sense of remembrance, a sense of gratitude, a sense of service. One way in which you can service is to remember what they were inspired by and try to sort of fulfill that. That could be an element of the work you do. So all of these are ways in which, because our desires live beyond ourselves. Just because we suddenly vanish doesn't mean our connection with the future vanishes. Acknowledgement of that, right? In this cycle of birth and death, in this cycle of causation, we are linked to the past, and the past is linked to today, the present, which is, for them, the future. So the past, present, future are linked. Acknowledgement of that. So a sense of gratitude and a sense of thankfulness to all the contributions. See, the good they have done has benefited you. The wrong they have done has also benefited you. You've learned from it how not to be. right? So they were the guinea pigs for your understanding, for your example. To be inspired by it. Similarly, the things you're doing today, the efforts you're putting in today, will contribute to your next generation. It doesn't only mean your specific family.
मानवता की
Someone who's contributing at large to the city or the state of the country is contributing to the lives of innumerable people in the future. So Pitra is not limited only to your bloodline necessarily, right? It can extend to a sense of gratitude for all the forces that have contributed and collectively resulted in the present. Okay. So the law of causation, does that satisfy your question?
Thank you,
So,
sir.
You all do some reading and come back to me with a further perspective. I would love to learn more about this. So I can give you some homework. Read about Pitru Paksha and come back and perhaps share your perspective. And as Omji says, come up with your own examples. Come up with your own analogies. Okay. We're talking about the law of causation. The law of causation, I just want to quickly touch upon one or two things before we start again. We start again. First of all, that Vedanta is through this chapter in this concept, it's declaring that everything is linked by causation. Means there is no. I mean, even a chamatkar. What is a chamatkar? A chamatkar is simply a cause you cannot trace. A chain of causation you cannot trace. But just because something is beyond your conception doesn't mean that there is a link of causation to it. Causation is supreme, right? And that this causation functions at innumerable levels, at the physical, material, sensual, emotional, psychological, philosophical level. There are various laws that govern this world, that based on which the causation functions. And what is causation? Every cause has a certain result, an impact, an effect, and every effect is subsequently a cause for the next effect, right? So this chain of causation is unbroken. And the whole concept of God is not some supreme power that is determining what cause will get what effect. God is not some kingmaker who will decide, I like this person's face, I will give him this result. No. Your actions are the cause, and the result of your actions are the effect. God has nothing to do in influencing your actions or the effect. You are solely responsible for your actions, and you are solely responsible for the effect of it. God is simply that unseen, unknown hand that maintains the law. The very fact that these laws are functioning meticulously is
Alert from system UI server. Low battery.
the very fact that these is a remarkable thing. The functioning meticulously leads us to posit what could be the power behind it, what is maintaining it, what is ensuring it. In any place you see a strong sense of governance, you attribute it to a government, a strong government. So the governance through these laws is attributed to a strong governor, and that unknown, mysterious governor we call God, right? But what you have to understand is that God is not determining the effect. God is not determining your destiny. God is simply ensuring that the law of destiny functions. And as per your cause, as per your actions, as per your efforts, you will reap the particular effect. With that thought, we'll continue. So this is precisely what he's going to reiterate in the rest of this section. People are not aware of this imposing law of nature.
People are not aware of this imposing law of nature. In their ignorance, they believe destiny is something which is predetermined, Some accept it as a plan ordained by God. Others presume it is a play of stars and planets. Yet others hold it as a stratagem of luck and accident. These are preposterous presumptions. Destiny is ruled by a scientific law relating to cause and effect. You are the creator of your destiny. There is no extraneous power controlling your life, no God shaping your destiny. God has nothing to do with the type of thought, desire, and action emanating from you. He does not determine their nature. No doubt, God is the supreme power that enables you to think, desire, and act. But the quality of your activities is entirely your making. You are the architect of your life. You are responsible for its positive or negative character. You make or mar yourself. Spiritual ignoramuses believe that God does everything, that whatever happens, happens with the will of God, that God has created the world and determined the course of each one's life therein, and consider a human being a victim of God's determination. They do not believe that he has any part to play in molding his life. Whereas the atheists aver that a human being is wholly responsible for whatever happens in life, that human effort is everything, and there is nothing else to it. Vedanta resolves the difference in their points of view. God is no doubt the substratum, prime mover of all activities, as petrol to the movement of all cars. But petrol does not determine the mode and course of their motion. It is the engine that provides the power in the car. The driver determines its direction course. Similarly, the human mind and intellect determine the nature and direction of activities, and they in turn fabricate his destiny, not God. The responsibility of your life, therefore, lies in your hands. Entertain positive thought and feeling, perform positive action, you meet with fortune. Whereas with negative thought, feeling, and action, you bring about misfortune upon yourself. You mold your destiny. You get what you deserve. It is an unfailing law. Richard Chenoweth's Trench puts it across beautifully. The stone that is fit for the wall is not left in the way.
See, from time immemorial, even up till today, the general pattern is to attribute a certain result, a certain effect on outside forces. We're always looking for something outside responsible for our condition.
But
And
sir, the prarabdha, what they say, the destiny is something which is predetermined. So it is surely predetermined, na, because of the prarabdha.
yes. So, I mean, what is your question?
So they say in ignorance they believe destiny is something which is predetermined. But why in ignorance? Destiny is predetermined. The
By
prarabdha is
something
predetermined.
else. By something else. That destiny is predetermined by someone else, something else.
No, the destiny is predetermined by my previous action.
Indeed. Now, see, now that you have read it entirely, you can perhaps make this conclusion, right? Uh, the important aspect out there is that, of course, he's saying destiny comes from your past. So that's what you're repeating. Destiny is the effect of your past. That's simply what you're reiterating, right? So in that sense, yes, it is predetermined. But predetermined, uh, you cannot. What you have to understand is that you have an influence of your destiny in the present as well, because your future destiny is based on whatever is in the past, followed by what you do in the present, right? So in that sense, it's not something that's fixed and decided particularly by some third entity. Right? A stone that is fit for the wall is not left in the way. The general pattern is to blame someone else, something else for my life, to a point where we think, oh, we'll fix the world and our life will become okay. We'll change the laws of this country and everyone will become happy. I'm not saying the laws of this country don't need addressing. Of course, the world needs constant repair. The world has to be constantly, no doubt about it. But even in a perfect world, if your relation to it, if your approach to it is not correct, you will still be unhappy, you will still be feeling, you will still be miserable. Because it's not so much the world that you live in, but how you relate to it that matters. That determines your sense of satisfaction, your sense of achievement, your sense of state of mind. So, how you deal with adversities, how you deal with difficult situations, how you deal with scenarios is in your hands. And as a result, as a sum total of the environment and your decisions and your choices, you're led to a certain consequence. Now, if you're going to wait on the world to be perfect, then it'll even after 20 janmas, I'll meet you and you'll be in the same position. If you're waiting for the world to become perfect, the world is never going to be perfect. At the same time, let me tell you, the world is constantly improving. Right? So get out of this inertia. Get out of this inertia of blaming the world and looking at the world, waiting on the world to change. Right? The law of destiny is so powerful. If you become resolved that I am going to take my life in my control, then you will be surprised of what you can achieve. You'll be surprised that even in a so-called adverse situation, you'll be far better off than you could have imagined. And if you don't take your life in your control, then you'll be also surprised that even in such a great situation, you're miserable. So the law of destiny is calling you to acknowledge that, first of all, there is a link of causation. There is a chain of causation. I may not fully understand it, appreciate it. I may not be able to fully grasp it with my intellect. But a chain of causation, which is beyond my control, has led me to today. It is similarly prompting me to appreciate that the chain of causation continues into the future. There's no point crying over spilt milk, but I can set things right slowly, gradually, with my Purushartha. So this destiny is what is called, Yashuji used the term, it's called prarabdha. Your destiny is your prarabdha. But the effort you put in to improve, to correct, is called Purushartha. It's called your self-effort. One set of people will say prarabdha is everything. Another set of people will say Purushartha is everything. Both are wrong. Your prarabdha has a big influence on you. In fact, Prachi, you were asking, the field of astrology deals with prarabdha. Prarabdha. And that's the scientific aspect of it that Omji was trying to, convey. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's not relevant to our discussion. But any good astrologer will tell you that this is based on your prarabdha, and God knows how they've determined this science. I don't know. I don't have any information about it. But it's giving you an imprint of your prarabdha, right? Based on the prarabdha, it's giving you insight of, okay, it's like, I've used this example before. It's simple physics. What is the law of mechanics? There are 3 laws of mechanics. V equals U plus 80. I don't know if you remember this. Initial velocity, time, final velocity, all these parameters, right? and they're codified. So, suppose I'm Neeraj Chopra. Hmm? Neeraj Chopra, javelin thrower. Suppose I'm Neeraj Chopra throwing a javelin at a particular angle, at a particular velocity. Suppose all that information is available to me. And of course, it's a perfect world where there's no air resistance, there's no other influence. I can determine based on the initial velocity where that and the angle and perhaps the speed and the position where that javelin will go and land. So based on certain initial pieces of information, prarabdha, based on which gets imprinted apparently in where you are born and when you are born and how you're born. I don't know how they do it. Then it gives a certain prediction, so predictive analytics, of what could possibly. But what you have to understand is that it's far more complex than that. Right now, we're thinking of an ideal situation. There's air resistance, there's temperature, there's humidity. Uh, Last week, Neeraj Chopra was throwing in Norway. Apparently, it was very cold out there. All the throwers didn't cross 87. In the Olympics, just a couple of weeks ago, the throwers threw 93. Out here, the best throw threw 87. What does that say? The influence of weather, the influence of that particular day. So what I'm saying is there are multiple influences far beyond that simple calculation.
Destiny के लिए
So,
All of that can be the Purusharth in
right?
when you take it into consideration.
So not only Purusharth, but even the fact
F-
that Buddha itself is difficult to pinpoint. Huh?
yeah, the external factors.
The Adi Bhautik,
And
those
you will change. Based on your Purusharth, you can change your destiny. That's what you have to understand. Okay, your prarabdha has a certain imprint. You can say, हाँ ये तो लिखा हुआ है, ये तो मेरे साथ होने वाला है, अभी मेरी 7.5 चल रही है. You're just looking for another excuse. That's when it becomes problematic. That's when it becomes dangerous. People look at for another excuse to blame an external circumstance, blame the stars and blame the planets for their actions. Right? So I'm not dissing it. You should approach this subject even with a spirit of curiosity. But this is the general misapplication of it. And any astrologer worth their name will tell you that your Purusharth can change you, can change your charts. So it's a matter of whether, what you want to pay emphasis on. As a Vedantin, we seek to develop a spirit of surrender to the past. Surrender to the past and take control of the present. Kate kanta dhanagata chinta vatula kim tava nasti niyanta. Don't you know there's an ordena? Don't you know there's a beautiful chain of causation? What is your worry? You will get what you deserve, and you will determine what you deserve in the future. Your present actions will determine what you deserve in the future. So don't worry about it. So that's where the law of destiny extends into the law of karma. The law of destiny deals with you from the past up till today, and the law of karma will talk about its continuation into the future. The future is nothing but a continuation of the past modified in the present. It's a beautiful line by Swamiji. The future is nothing but a continuation of the past modified in the present. And that's your karma. Your karma is the present. What you do, what choices you make, what changes you bring about. And this Purushartha, even though an individual action may seem ineffective against the flood of Prarabdha, but this Purushartha is cumulative. It adds up. With consistency, with constant application, with a sense of commitment and determination, you'll be surprised with what is possible, what you can do with your life. As Bill Gates said, people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. Some project has come up, you're like, एक week में सब कुछ करो. You are overestimating what you can achieve in a week, but you're underestimating what you can achieve in a year. Purushartha works on this principle. In the immediate, it may be relatively ineffective, but over a period of time, Purushartha becomes an incredible force that can transform your life. So I'm conscious of time. I don't know whether we should start this section. Okay, let's start it. Let's actually read the first two paragraphs and take our discussion from there.
Law of karma. The law of destiny defines the status of a person at any moment of his life with reference to his past from that moment, whereas the law of karma is an extension of the law of destiny into the future. Both the laws are based on the principle of cause and effect. The law of destiny states that you are at present the product of your past. The law of karma reaches further to state that you are not only the product of your past, but the producer of your future as well. Destiny covers only the past and present, while karma covers the past, present, and future. With reference to your past, you are a product, a slave. But with reference to your future, you are a producer, a master. You are the son of your father as well as the father of your son. You are a son, father, product, producer at the same time. Looking back into your past, you develop pessimism. Looking ahead into your future, you gain optimism. With the knowledge of the law of karma, you begin to realize that your shortcomings and difficulties are the creation of your past unintelligent activities, and that you have now the opportunity to create a better future for yourself, that you are the master of your destiny. A human being, therefore, is bound by his own past while free to act as he wills. Freedom and bondage seem to coexist in one person. Thus, you are a product of your past. You also possess a free will to act as you please. There are two forces operating in your life. The one from the past that has shaped your destiny, known as prarabdha. The other which gives you the freedom to choose your action, purushartha. Your purushartha chooses your course of action, and the actions executed already by your purushartha self-efforts result in your prarabdha destiny. Your destiny is thus the cumulative effect of all your past self-efforts. Whatever has been the nature and quality of your effort in the past, the same will be reflected in your present destiny. If your physical, mental, and intellectual activities have been positive, you meet with a positive destiny. If negative, you meet a negative destiny. If partly positive and partly negative, your destiny takes the same proportion. Destiny is similar to your bank balance, and self-effort to your capacity to earn or lose money, to credit or debit your account. Your bank balance at any point of time is the aggregate of all your credits and debits prior to that moment. regardless of your balance showing credit or debit, your capacity to earn or lose remains independent of it. You could earn more and increase your balance, or withdraw more and decrease it. Likewise, regardless of your present status, you could put in positive effort and evolve spiritually, or indulge in negative effort and devolve. The law of karma goes on.
So the law of karma goes on, and you are both in bondage and enjoy freedom at the same time. Freedom and bondage seem to coexist in a person. The difference is, what do you lay emphasis on? If you are laying emphasis on the past, if you're unable to detach yourself from all sorts of experiences of the past, and I know so many people who hold on to the past like anything. What happened, what was said, who did what. 25 years ago, some Masi or Taiji fought with your mother about some flat, uh, some disagreements. And mostly it happens in family only. See, why do we love strangers? Because strangers are so easy to deal with, you don't have to deal with them. Particularly in your families, that's where all the issues will arise. Funny thing is, you make strangers your family and you start having problems with them also. It's the nature of the mind. Uh, but you have to have that spirit of detachment from the past to become a creator, not a victim. Of course, learn from the past experience. There could be mistakes made by certain people. There could be naive decisions. There could be, other factors. People could have been, it's a great teacher. The past is a great teacher. But you're meant to learn the lesson and forget about it. So whether you are free or whether you are bound it's a proportion, and it depends on your state of mind. If you lay more emphasis on the future rather than the past, you will be more free than bound. And if you have that perfect spirit of learning from the past but living for the future, you'll enjoy that unbearable lightness of being. It'll be extremely light. All your bondage comes from the past. Okay, so with that thought, we'll conclude today, and we'll continue our discussion. I will let you know when the next class is. We might have a class perhaps this weekend, okay? Because if all goes well, I will be on a flight on Monday. I'm traveling abroad. So I will keep you all posted. I'm still awaiting my visa, among other things. So I'll keep you all posted about my travel plans, and I'll try to accommodate a class sort of before next Monday so that we don't miss out on next Monday. And of course, after that, through my travel plans, I will create a calendar for the next couple of classes. But I want to continue this discussion on the law of causation and conclude this chapter. So we'll be in touch, and I'll keep you posted. Thank you so much.
Thank you.